There is only one thing worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. Assalamu alaikum, BASRAH this side, and I have in my hands a very special book review for you guys. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I'm sorry for the mirror text, I will add a picture right here. Anyway, this is a classic book by the author Oscar Wilde. When I first started reading this book, I have to admit that I was so intrigued by the simple and unique format that it had, and I was very keen to not miss any Easter eggs or any hidden mysterious special meanings in the book or the story. Cut to when later I finished this book, I found that the story in itself is a high metaphor to the universal instincts of a man. So without spoiling it for those who haven't read this book yet, if I had to put the content of this book in simpler words, this book defines the basic perspective one has of life, which is between beauty, wealth, and the desire for staying young forever. It not only provokes the feelings of the readers, but it also shows the consequences of having unnecessary yet inevitable desires that would eventually lead to unanticipated results which one would have to face. As the book says, The Picture of Dorian Gray is Oscar Wilde's classic story of a young man whose beauty prompts a painter to paint a lifelike portrait of him. However, all is not what it seems. Dorian expresses the desire to sell his soul to ensure that the picture, rather than he, will age and fade. Interesting. It's one of those classics from the pen of Oscar Wilde which can cater and intrigue any kind of audience of any age. While we are on this topic, let me tell you something about Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was born on 16 October 1854 in Dublin, Ireland. He fell in love with literature at a very young age, especially Roman and Greek. His works are often known for his witty imagination and artistic mastery, a perfect balance between realism and reverie. Many of his famous plays, such as The Importance of Being Earnest, are still considered literary classic. That is why maybe I was touched and moved by this book, because I am into classics and I really liked how the story was expressing itself throughout the book. And I think the gradual turning of protagonist into antagonist by showing and depicting the series of events that would justify his doings is the main topic of discussion of this book. But all that goes around comes around. As Oscar Wilde propagates his art for art's sake theory, even as he weaves a narrative around a young, beautiful man, Dorian Gray, and his friends, Lord Henry and Basil, this book, in its true sense, it's a masterpiece. It's a beautiful story and obviously a classic because it suggests the universal instincts of a man. So overall, if I have to say, this book is a wonderful classic read, and if one is finding and trying to look into the world of classics and trying to find the one book, this could be the one. And I'm not a qualified writer or a reader to rate this book, but if I have to say, I would say this is a must read. So thank you so much for watching this video and sticking up until the end. If you like this book review, do comment below, and if you have already read the book, tell me what you liked about the book. And if you want to suggest a book that I must do a review for, you know what to do. Keep reading, because one book can literally change your world. Thank you so much. Jazakallah. Why this book is a gossip or a topic of discussion. Without spoiling, so without protagonist into antagonist and showing the series of events of his doings, and the move of showing the protagonist turning a protagonist into an antagonist, which
1 minute 37 seconds later.
And the move of turning a protagonist into the antagonist.
One debt to society later.
And the move of turning the protagonist into the antagonist while showing the series